Hi, I'm Jacopo Rota and I'm a software engineer in the TrustyAI team at Red Hat. And today I'm going to show you how you can integrate your Kogito application with TrustyAI. TrustyAI, if you don't already know it, is a new initiative from the business automation group at Red Hat, and it aims to increase the trust of your decision-making process. As an example, let's assume that you have a TMN model and maybe you are also using some machine learning in it, and you wonder why a particular decision has been taken by your model. In this very moment, you might not have all the instruments to answer this question, and TrustyAI goes into this direction. So we provide two main features. So the first one is the complete list of all the executions of the model, and the second one is that you can actually drill down to each specific decision, to each specific execution, and have a look at all the inputs and all the internal outcomes of the model, and in particular you can have a look at the explainability of each outcome. And by explainability we mean that we provide a score to all the features that contributed to that particular outcome, given a particular input, of course. So the goal of this demo will be to have your DMN model running on OpenShift with Kogito together with the TrustyAI capabilities. And as an example, the situation will look like the following. So we have a DMN model with some inputs, some decisions, and this is the Swagger UI of the Kogito application running on OpenShift. And here the DMN model is exposed under the pre-qualification endpoint, and we can evaluate the model given with some inputs, for example. So let's execute it, and here we get back the response with the evaluation of our DMN model. And now what we can do is to have a look at the Trusty UI, also called Audit UI, and let's see what happened. So the latest execution was only a few seconds ago. That's correct. So we can have a look at the details, and here we have all the decisions of the model, all the internal decisions. Here, for example, we have the loan payment, and the loan payment is this decision here. We will not go into the details of the DMN, it's not important for this demo, but what is important here is that we can have a look at the details. And for example, the most important feature that contributed to this particular outcome is the loan amount. So the loan amount was one of the most important features that contributed to this outcome. And here we have all the inputs of the decision. We can switch with a decision, and let's see how they did. And then we can also have a look at the raw input data that we provided to the model. So the demo is divided in three parts. The first one is the creation of the Kogito application and its configuration to make it work with TrustyAI. The second part is the setup of the OpenShift cluster, and the third part is the deployment of your Kogito application together with the TrustyAI infrastructure. Let's start from the first one, the creation of the Kogito application. You can go through the documentation if you would like, but for the sake of the demo, we just need the Maven archetype that we provide. So let's find it, and here you see that we provide an archetype for Quarkus and for Spring Boot. Depending on your company or based on your experience, you can choose between them. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to use Quarkus. I just changed the artifact ID with a custom one. So let's create it. Alright. Now I can load it with IntelliJ, but you can use your preferred editor if you would like. It doesn't really matter. You see here that the Kogito project comes with a BPMN default resource that we don't need, so we just delete it. And now what we have to do is to copy and paste the daemon file that we would like to use. For example, we are going to use the default one that we use in our Kogito examples. You will find the link in the blog post. Alright, here we go. And we just copy and paste it under the resources folder. And for a standard Kogito application, we already good to go. But now we have to configure it to make it work with Trusty. So the first thing is to go into the pom.xml file and import the following dependency: the decision Quarkus add-on. Of course, that's what Quarkus, because I'm using Quarkus. But we have the same add-on also for Spring Boot. So if I was using Spring Boot, I should use the Spring Boot one. Now we have to configure the add-on, and the configuration is standard for every Kogito application. Of course, if you're not doing anything custom. So if you are doing something custom, the configuration is going to change, but you already know what to do. But if you're just using TrustyAI with the code that we provide, the configuration is always the same, and you can find it in our examples or in the official documentation or in the blog post. So now we are good to go to package the application and also create a Docker image out of it. So let's create a Docker file. And with Kogito, we provide a Docker image that you can use, and if you are using Kogito, you should always use this image because it's always up to date with the latest changes and everything, so we strongly suggest you to use it. And of course you can find it in the examples in the official documentation again. Now we can run Docker build. Now I'm using Quay as a remote app, but if you're using Docker Hub, you just write your username / the name of the application. So let's build the Docker image. And now we can push it to the remote app. Now we are done, but it's good to spend a couple of words on how we are going to deploy the application to OpenShift. So we are going to use the Kogito operator, and now we are going to use OpenShift, and given that we use OpenShift, we might also use the Kogito build custom resource. Basically, we can create a new GitHub repository and push the code there, and then use this custom resource to build the Docker image. So basically the step that we just did a few seconds ago, the creation of the Docker image. In a nutshell, we can let it make, it can be made by OpenShift using this custom resource and the Kogito operator. Just put here the link to the code, to the GitHub repository, and once the build is done, the image will be available under OpenShift, and then you can use the custom resource Kogito service here to deploy it. Now the path that we would like to show you in this demo was to create the Docker image by ourselves and then use this custom resource here to deploy it. So you see here that we just need to provide the path to the remote hub. So for my example, it will be quay.io/jrota and etc. So this is it for the first part, and see you later for the second part.